Hello, we are the Ministry of the Real Truth, and it has come to our attention, perhaps for a month or so now, that there are several video lecture videos of imams, it's Muslim clerics or teachers, speaking to Muslims about the Bible and so said contradictions, and that Muhammad the Prophet is mentioned in the Aramaic scriptures in that particular language. It's far from the truth. Also, we have seen several video shorts of Muslims trying to convince Christians of contradictions in or within the Bible. Yes, there are contradictions, as they often point out, exclaiming in the subtitles or the heading of the video, "No Christian can answer this." Well, we will prove them wrong. In this particular video, a Muslim confronts a Christian with a supposed contradiction in two books of the Bible, Acts 1:18 and Matthew 27:15. Let's watch this short video to see what occurred.
How did Judas die? Tell me, how did Judas die?
Judas, the one that betrayed Jesus?
Yes.
The guts burst out in the
Excellent.
pool of blood.
Excellent. Acts 1:18. Okay. Now this man, so we're talking about Judas, purchased the field with the reward of iniquity, falling headlong. So falling headlong, he burst asunder in the midst, and his bowels gushed out. Okay. So he purchased the field with that money, and he fell down, and his guts came out. If we go to in Matthew, okay.
Okay, so he says that's a contradiction. It's actually a contradiction of a contradiction. Okay, he's actually incorrect.
In Matthew 27, okay, verse 5, and he cast down the pieces of silver. So he didn't buy a field with a piece of silver in this account. In
Yes, that's true.
the temple, and departed, and he went and hanged himself. So either he purchased the field with that money and fell down and his intestines came out, or he threw down the piece of silver and he hung himself. Now this is a contradiction within the Bible about the account of how Judas died.
So he's correct up to him saying it's a contradiction to how Judas died. But as we will show you, it's not actually a contradiction. He's contradicting it. Okay, let's watch that again in its entirety.
How did Judas die? Tell me, how did Judas die?
Judas, the one that betrayed Jesus?
Yes.
The guts burst out in the pool of blood.
Excellent. Acts 1:18. Okay. Now this man, so we're talking about Judas, purchased the field with the reward of iniquity, falling headlong. So falling headlong, he burst asunder in the midst, and his bowels gushed out.
Okay, so that's what he's saying about Acts 1:18. So we will have a look at what your Modern Americanized, Modern English versions actually say. Okay. Now this man purchased the field with the reward of iniquity, or those coins that he received for betraying the Christ, and falling headlong he burst asunder in the midst of all, and all his bowels gushed out. So it's saying that he purchased a field with those silver coins that he got from the Pharisees. Here it is here, in the Beatson commentary, or the Alicots, which is shorter, 18:19 of that Acts 1:18. Now this man purchased a field, better acquired, got possession of a field. The Greek not necessarily including the idea of buying. The difficulties presented by the comparison of this account with that in Matthew 27:5-8, etc., etc. Okay, there's lots of commentaries on that here. We are going to look at the original, ancient, very old Galilean Aramaic, the language that Jesus spoke, and also the disciples and the apostles, translated into the nearest English equivalent from the original Galilean manuscripts, Galilean Aramaic manuscripts, hidden and preserved for over 2,000 years by the original Apostolic Church of the East, founded by Addai or Thomas, with the help of Bartholomew and Peter, supposedly. Okay, so this is translated into the nearest English equivalent by a native-born Aramaic-speaking translator from Bet Nahrain, or Mesopotamia, Syria, who has at least 20 to 30 years' experience translating both the Old and New Testament manuscripts from that particular church. Okay, so we are looking at Acts 1:18, and it reads that this Judas had to fulfill the scriptures, right? So he betrayed the Christ, Yeshua Mashiach, or Jesus the Messiah, and for him the reward he earned himself was the wages of sin, or death, for his betrayal, right? For his sins, because he was stealing from the treasury, the bag of silver or coins that they had, right? Supposedly. And he fell flat on his face, his belly split open, and his guts spilled out on the ground. And there's a footnote indication right there. And we can have a look at that. 1:18, literal Aramaic idiomatic construction, and fell on his face on the ground, and his middle tore up and all his insides poured out. 1:20, for it is written in the book of Psalms, his abode, it's talking about Judas, it's a prophecy, will be desolate. No one will live there, right? No one will reside in it, and someone else will bury him. So someone apart from these other disciples would bury him. And this happened to one of the men who was with us this whole time. It's Judas. There's a footnote indication there. He was with us in that. He was with them in that era, right? That season, during which Maran Yoshua, which is the Messiah, came to us and went from us. He ascended into heaven, right? He was resurrected. He died, was resurrected, and he ascended to heaven to sit on the right side of his Father, right? Who adhered to the baptism of John until the day Joshua ascended from us. So Judas was baptized. He did all as a follower of Christ, as they did, that he should be with us, a witness to the resurrection. And they presented two others. Okay, two others stood before them. Joseph, who is called Barsabbas, whose name is Justus, and Matthias, okay, which is Aramaic, Galilean Aramaic, for Matthew. And as they prayed, they said, Maran, or Lord, Master, you know what is in all hearts and minds, right? Show us one person that you chose from these two. These are the disciples praying, right? Choose one, God, right? Basically, to replace Judas that betrayed our Lord, our Master, the Christ, Yeshua Mashiach, that he may receive the lot of ministry and apostleship that Judah discarded to go to his country. Okay, that Judah basically threw it away, the opportunity away. And they cast lots, and it came with Matthias, and he was counted with the 11 apostles, so he became the 12th, right? Replacement for Judas, who betrayed the Christ and then killed himself. Okay, so there it's not saying that he purchased the field of blood, that field, right, with any silver dollars or coins that he got from the Pharisees. Okay, he went to his death because of his sin, his betrayal, and he was buried there. Oh, you know, he fell on his face, his guts burst open, etc. And he was buried there by somebody else. Nobody lived in that area because it was called the field of blood, etc., etc., the country of blood. So they all avoided it. And then this guy, this Muslim, proceeds to produce another biblical or Bible
so
contradiction.
he purchased the field with that money, and he fell down, and his guts came out. If we go to in Matthew, in Matthew 27, verse 5, and he cast down the pieces of silver. So he didn't buy a field with a piece of silver in this account in the temple, and departed, and he went and hanged himself. So either he purchased the field with that money and fell down, and his intestines came out, or he threw down the piece of silver and he hung himself. Now this is a contradiction within the Bible about the account of how Judas died.
Okay, so that guy's actually pointing to a truth, but he's saying it's a contradiction in the Bible. Okay, so he's creating a contradiction, because if we have a look at the ancient original Galilean Aramaic, translated into nearest English equivalent for Gospel of Matthew. Okay, well, first we'll look at the Americanized versions, right? In the King James, Americanized modern English version, which reads, "When the morning was come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to death," because he was betrayed by Judas, right? And brought to him by temple guards. When they had bound him, or tied him up, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the procurator, right? The governor at that time. Then Judas, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, okay, repented himself. He had great sorrow, great regret, and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, "I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood," an innocent man, right? Sent him to his death. And they said, "What is that to us? See thou to that." And he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple, just threw them down, right, and he departed, took off, and went and hung himself. And the chief priests took the silver pieces. They picked it up because he threw it on the floor, right? And said, "It is not lawful to put them into the treasury, for us to put them into the treasury, because it is the price of blood." Okay, these silver pieces condemned a man to death, right? Blood money. And they took counsel, they got together, right? They whispered amongst themselves, right, and decided what they're going to do. So they brought with them the potter's field to bury strangers in. Wherefore that field was called the field of blood unto this day. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by, to put Jeremy here, Jeremiah, it should be Jeremiah the prophet, Jeremy the prophet, saying, "And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him that was valued, whom they of the children of Israel did value, and gave them for the potter's field as the Lord appointed me." Okay, and Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, "Art thou the king of the Jews?" etc., etc. So these priests of the temple, these Pharisees, were the ones who took that coin, bought that field, and possibly buried him, and it was called the field of blood, the country of blood, because it cost someone their life. It was blood money, right? So when other people heard about that, they didn't want to go there, didn't want to live there, right? No one resided there, right? No one lived there. No one built a city or nothing. No one lived there. So in the original ancient Galilean Aramaic, translated in its nearest English equivalent, it reads as Matthew 27, Okay, we'll go back a bit earlier than that. "As it was early morning, the chief high priests and priests of the nation of Israel, right, conspired on how to kill Joshua, or Jesus the Messiah, and they tied him and took him and delivered him to Pilate, the governor. Then Judas the betrayer, because he saw him in the Garden of Gethsemane, he led them to him, and he gave him that kiss right on the cheek, and said, "Master," whatever, and they took him, right? Then Judas the betrayer, as he saw that he had betrayed Joshua, or Jesus the Messiah, got a footnote indication there. Can have a look at that. 27:3. Is that the one we're looking at? 27:3. Literal Aramaic idiomatic expression, "He was responsible for Joshua," or Jesus the Messiah, right? 27:4. And he said, "I have sinned and betrayed innocent blood." They, however, said, "What is it to us? Think whatever you want." Footnote indication. So we're going to have a look at that one. 27:4:1, literal Aramaic idiomatic expression, "To us," what to us. That's how it's translated from that original language. Okay, it's not grammatically correct. Okay. to us that would be, what the hell's it to do with us? What's it got to do with us? 27 forward 2, literal Aramaic idiomatic expression, you know you. 27 forward 2. They, however, say, what is it to us? Think whatever you want. You know yourself, basically. You know what you've got to do. Okay, whatever you do, well, that's over to you, basically. Yeah. So he throws the coins in the temple and left, and he went and hung himself. So they say the chief high priest, however, took the coins and said it's not lawful that he threw them into the offering, because they are the price of blood. It's blood money. So they got together and bought with them a potter's field as a foreigner's cemetery. That's for Gentiles, right? Non-Jews, the Goyim. That is why the field is called Field of Blood to this day. In the prophecy, which was said by the prophet Jeremiah, not Jeremy, became fulfilled, who said that they set up 30 coins as the price of his blood, which they exacted from the children of Israel. Okay, that's the money of the people, right? And they gave it for a potter's field as the Lord had commanded, as God had set, right? And so forth. So Judas didn't purchase the field. Okay, those high priests, those Pharisees, purchased it, not for Jews but for foreigners, but they buried him in it. Okay, and nobody went there. Okay, they possibly hired someone or buried him there themselves. Probably hired somebody else to do it. Okay, they might have their little rules and all this sort of stuff where we can't do that because according to the Mosaic law, etc., etc. It may have been like that. Okay. And here is your many Americanized Modern English Bible translations. New International Version, he threw the money to the temple and left, and he went away and hanged himself, etc., etc. Basically the same thing. Threw the pieces of silver, 30 pieces of silver into the temple, then he took off. Having gone away, he hung himself. You're pretty much the same. Okay. See anything here? Yeah. See, like, so he didn't take those coins and buy himself. Yeah, he didn't take those coins. Okay, he threw them at them, and then he went away and hung himself. Okay, so this guy is contradicting it. Okay, because he's looking at these Americanized Modern Bible versions. We don't know, we're not too sure which one he was reading from, but he's got a misunderstanding of what the scriptures originally said in the original language, Galilean Aramaic, right? This is all translated from the supposed Greek, when it actually isn't, the original Greek or the original Hebrew or Aramaic, when it actually isn't. It's more of a modern derivative, modern dialect, such as modern Aramaic, Syriac, Galilean Aramaic, modern Israeli Hebrew, probably modern Latinized form of Greek, and so forth. So we hope that this opened your eyes to these Islam imams, these teachers, these clerics, etc., saying this and that when it's just total lies, totally false, and also these Muslims that are trying to establish that these contradictions in the Bible. Yes, there are in the original, in the Americanized Modern English translations or versions, right, being put out by the American Bible Societies. So, yeah, again, we hope that this opened your eyes to that fact. If it did, or this video, you like this video for your different reasons, then subscribe to our channel, give us a like, and then add your comments below this video, and then go share this video with all your family, friends, church friends, etc. that may be reading from those Americanized modern Bible versions and getting everything all wrong, saying to other people, well, this is what happened, this is what it says, so that's the truth, when it's actually incorrect.